Episode number 27, where it all started, back with Michael Kolbrener on 10,000 Miles. What is up, my man? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Hey, folks. Thanks for tuning into the show. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, the Podcast Index, and Podcasting 2.0. We'd really appreciate if you download Fountain, find us there, and support us via value for value. We hope you enjoy the show. Happy listening. Episode number 27, where it all started, back with Michael Kolbrener on 10,000 Miles. What is up, my man? How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am doing better now that we are chatting, and I'm so excited for this episode because it's a completely new format for us today. And breaking the ice with you is the only way I wanted to do it. So,
yeah, I appreciate it. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, first of all, let me just tell you something, a little side here. My mouth is on fire, okay? Because I just had a little snack before this, so I had a little energy, and I put habanero sauce all everything. And I'm rubbing my gums. I can't put the fire. Even the Diet Coke won't put it out.
It's extra energy for today, though. It gives
hot,
you like adrenaline.
Hot. Yeah, it's totally hot.
All of a sudden, this is an episode of Hot Ones.
It's good. So, hey, for listeners out there, this episode is going to be a blast. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick 3, 4, 5 segments, depending on how far we go here. And we're going to stop. We're going to talk about a topic. Michael and I react to videos. We're going to cover some things in the press. We're going to tell you what we think about these things. Michael and I have roots in doing stuff like this. Michael, you want to tell them a little bit what we did, 30 years ago now, 25 years ago?
Yeah, Vic and I got really accustomed to presenting to audiences together at companies where we worked. And I think people liked our, as they used to describe, our ham and egg. We had a lot of fun trying to get the audiences at corporate sites to loosen up a little bit and have a good time. So
we had a lot of fun, but I had something else in mind. I was referring to Tech Talk Radio.
Well, of course.
Right. So Michael and I were doing this, by the way, before this was happening. It was the 90s, maybe 2000 at best. Yeah. My brother's good friend owned a series of AM radio stations that he would bounce and string together. So he had coverage from New Jersey into the Catskills, New York. And we used to be able to buy radio time, and you can put on your own show. And I convinced the CEO of our company to fund it. So Michael and I did, 13 episodes of what we call Tech Talk Radio. And it's going to be much like this episode. We showed up and said, hey, I sent you some things. You sent me some things. And we talked about home tech. We talked about enterprise tech. But this is going to be much broader. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about happiness in the workplace. We're going to talk about technology. I don't know. We might talk about Hebrew National hot dogs for all I know, because my father friend Bootsy says Hebrew National's #1 hot dog in the world. Everything else is garbage. It's all garbage. They said. So Bootsy's great. So Michael, I'm going to fire up the first topic. And for everybody watching, listening, this is a topic Michael does not know is coming his way, but he is going to love it. Let me share your screen. Michael, you see that screen?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to play a little bit of this for you just up top. I'm going to go back and rewind. And I'm going to let you listen to the intro a little bit. We could stop and start along the way and have dialogue in and out, but I just wanted to start here. So this is Elon Musk announces Tesla's bot Optimus Next Gen 3. Okay, this is a robot. This is like a full standing robot.
This is a real
We
thing.
expect to have several thousand Optimus robots produced and doing useful things by the end of next year in the Tesla factories. And then in 2026, ramping up production quite a bit. And at that point, we'll be providing Optimus robots to outside customers
$580,000 is the amount of money a business can save over 20 years in labor costs by purchasing a security guard. Tesla bought for 20 grand instead of hiring a human worker for $600,000 over this time. Imagine how much money you can save with your current company size. Actually, deciding between humans and robots could be a complete game changer. No benefits, no vacations, and no fatigue. You don't have healthcare injuries or workplace drama either. Tesla Bot can operate continuously, replacing humans with savings up to 30 times cheaper.
I'm going to pause it because who knows if this is copyrighted or not. So you only play so long. But so you said you had the greatest question. This is real? So I'll be honest with you.
The internet is always so, you just, because I've seen a lot of Boston Dynamics stuff, and I've actually seen the Boston Dynamics in person. I was at an event and there was a guy and he worked for Boston Dynamics and his t-shirt said, "I build robots." And I went, and he had one with him, and I was like, "You're the coolest man here, man. You build robots." I mean, that's it.
So let's approach this from two angles. Let's make believe it's real or it's fake and it's coming.
Yeah, I think it's real and it's coming.
I think it's real. Yeah. So, they take the $20,000. It's 20, according to this, it's $20,000,
which is a very good purchase price.
20-year life, right? 20-year life, which is pretty amazing. Yeah. And does stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what do you think these? I mean, much like machinery bots are in place in manufacturing. Yeah. This is a much more mobile, more agile sort of form of getting things done. What are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I love robots. I mean, you can't. One of the pictures behind me is a famous painting of New York, and instead of people, it's robots. Like I love robots, and so I want robots. I think that it's a funny pitch. The cost savings, the workforce management. I think let's just see it. Let's see 10 of them at a conference, walking around, interacting with people. Yeah. We'll all figure out how to use them. You don't really have to explain to us how to use robots. If you have a robot that can interact naturally with other people and do a job, it's fantastic. If they can walk a workplace and walk the security perimeter. But reality is that robot is going to be talking to somebody, right? And so the one thing that I think that I've been trying to talk a little bit about with people is I'm not concerned about all the jobs going away, right? I do think that as AI improves and it changes, there are things we can't imagine and opportunities that there are going to be for people. And so I still think on the other side of this robot, there might be fewer people monitoring a bigger team of robots. But I mean, this is Iron Man 3, right? He has his Iron Man Legion in that iRobot, where people have their own personal robot companions. I think the movie was called Frank, maybe.
I remember that. It was Frank.
Where he has a robot companion. I mean, the use cases, I think, are way cooler than the workforce ones. I love the workforce ones and show me more. But let's get robot Amazon delivery. It's interesting for Tesla to talk about robots when we really want to talk about self-driving cars.
Well,
Musk cases for that.
Musk doesn't say he's a car manufacturer. Musk says that those cars, the self-driving cars, they're robots, but they just look like a car.
That's right.
That's how
that's exactly right. Yeah.
He says we're in the robot business. They just look like a car. That's it. They just look like a car.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you why I like it. First of all, if you look back in history, there's been so much displacement of the way we used to work.
Yeah.
Thousands of years, right? Thousands of years. You could look at a backhoe as a robot. You could look at a bulldozer or crane. All of these things to create the things we used to create would kill people. They would take such brute force and manual labor. People would die doing construction. People still die doing construction, but I don't think people in the bucket are dying because they got, their wrist hurt from moving the controls, right? There are other issues, but you look at the manufacturing world, the robots on the line of car production. There are just so many things that have come. I was talking to somebody about this little segment earlier this morning. My wife's friend was over and I was gathering some stuff for our show today. She goes, "Oh, what's that?" And I showed her. She goes, "Oh, boy, what do you think?" I said, "You know what I think?" I said, "My daughter is about to give birth to my first grandchild. And I think what that child may do as a living is not even invented yet."
Yeah, I agree.
We just don't even know. Now, personally, I'd love a robot at the house.
Yeah.
I'd buy one for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about get me a drink?
Well, it's funny, in the Industrial Revolution, there were folk tales about sort of the changing dynamic of what we should expect. And the one I grew up with, not that I grew up in the Industrial Revolution, but one of the children's books I grew up with was about John Henry. And John Henry was able to dig a tunnel, and he was stronger than 10 men. And in the story, they bring in a steam powered bulldozer, and we're all rooting for John Henry.
Yeah,
because
totally.
We don't want that to change, but that change happens, right? And we keep changing with it. We keep evolving. And so I think you're exactly right. It's hard to know. I do like the idea that this all ends up the narrative of the Terminator movie. I mean, I'm always hoping for that to happen in some way, or the Matrix movie. Like, those are the, dark sides of these, but who knows? Maybe we'll all get along famously.
I'm pretty nice to my family, people that come to my house. I don't ask for much. Yeah. Every now and then, I want my back scratched a little bit. You can't imagine the amount of bullshit I put up with here trying to get a few scratches on my back. The robot going to scratch me all day long.
Absolutely.
I'd pay $20,000 to get my back scratched.
Yeah,
I would. It would. Yeah. Do the laundry, fold the laundry. There are a million household chores that can be done. And even in work, I mean, here's the thing I think about. You think people that really, I mean, I understand people do like heavy manual labor. When you want a robot digging a hole with a shovel in a place, a backhoe couldn't get, people are going to be safer. They're going to be able to, the guy on the job site's going to be controlling the robot or fixing it or doing something rather than having to bust it back and be crippled by the time they're our age. It's
I think exoskeletons, which are going to use similar technologies, things that I can wear. And then look,
that's huge, by the way. Those exoskeletons, I dig that.
Yeah. And as nice as he's talking about, the workforce, there are going to be serious military applications for things like this, and that the U.S. military will be a big investor and buyer of this kind of technology, because already we're using drones, right?
We are.
Not in we're not in the theater in person as much anymore. The less we can put our soldiers in harm's way, and the more we can use automation.
That's a scary proposition. I don't want to freak out the audience, but if you study history, when when the U.S. was attacked by the Japanese at Pearl Harbor, their original plan was to land and to put a force on the ground. They thought they could do that. And because of the Second Amendment, agree or disagree with it, one of the generals said, we can't fight on the earth, on the grounds of the United States, because it interpreted was because there was a gun behind every blade of grass that is in the country, right? And so here we are, number of years later. Maybe I don't know that this is necessarily true, but I have to think logically that people might be resistant to putting forces on the ground here in the United States beyond our militaries, because, like it or not, there are 400 million guns in hands of armed citizens of the Americans, for better or worse. And robots don't care about that.
Yeah.
So you can dump, 10,000, 20,000 of these robots armed to the gilt, right? We got to be able to counter it. It's
the RoboCop came out in '88, right?
Yes, I know it very well.
10 years ago. I think these things, are all going to be in play. I prefer the use case of a companion and somebody who can
you and me both.
Dinner, but I think
like getting my back scratched. just like I told you. I'm actually getting itchy right now. Imagine if you had an itchy scalp.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be weird right during this for the robot to come over and be like more in the middle.
Yeah, exactly. It would be good. All right. So, so the claim here in the article was that, we could start seeing these things commercially available in 2026 sometime. That would be crazy. That would be completely crazy.
Yeah, it would be great if they showed up as novelties. Like I was saying earlier, it'd be just great to see robots. Like when I was at this thing and the guy was operating, and it wasn't really a robot because he was operating it a little bit. But the Boston Dynamics stuff is crazy cool. And the social media fake stuff that you see that robots doing, awesome.
It is good. It's real good. All right, lightning round number 2. Next topic. Kind of in line, as you said, with, robots and what the potential is, but there's a lot of employment movement in the market, specifically in technology in 2024. And you sent me this magazine from, it's an article rather, from Visual Capitalist. And it's titled, let me get it up on screen here. All right, there we go. It is titled The Biggest Layoffs in Tech So Far in 2024. And I think the punchline and something that makes this real easily and visual is like, look at these top 10, you know? And when you read about it, I know you read this article in depth. Do you want to give us a little narration on it?
Yeah, and it was really just this image. I like the Visual Capitalist. It just hits you with images and it makes you sort of think about it. And I mean, the Dell one is crazy, 20% of the company. I mean, that's just a crazy percentage, right? The struggles that Tesla has been having have been well documented in the news. And so in some ways, it's not surprising to see Tesla on the list, although the impact Tesla has had on the electric car manufacturing has been unbelievably incredible, right? And so it's just, I think that's a reflection of more competition in that space. But the ones that really interest me are the real kind of tech ones, like Dell, which is really more of a manufacturer. And a lot of these start to look like manufacturers, Cisco, but SAP, I mean, it's not surprising to see SAP. It's such a specific market product that is so kind of uniquely used by lots of people. But I don't know if you've ever managed an SAP installation. In my 25 years in tech, maybe once I've bumped into it. And so that's something that you would expect to see a little bit. I think the workforce is feeling this. These are the highs, but, hiring has really slowed at these companies. And I do think that a lot of companies have expense managed their ways to profitability. And one way to do that is to reduce your headcount.
Yeah, you can't shrink to greatness, that's for sure. But, look at this article here, 12,500 people of the, 26,000 people at Dell were in sales and marketing.
It's crazy.
That's counterintuitive, right? Because what do you need to come out of growth is you need, out of a slump is you need sales.
It's funny, I said there wasn't an article. I didn't scroll right when I saw this the first time. Thank you for pulling this up.
Yeah, sure. No, there's a little bit of meat underneath this.
Yeah.
So 12.5 out of sales and marketing, that would surprise me. I'm not shocked by that there's no sales and marketing. Like I didn't expect it to be 0, but almost half. So you got to grow, right? How do you grow? By shrinking your sales and marketing organization. Now, maybe there's an efficiency, maybe they're stacking regions, maybe they're doubling up account. Maybe guys like you and me, if we work, they're going to work twice as hard.
And they've done a lot of acquisitions and mergers, and that sometimes bloats headcount, but it's still a very surprisingly high number.
Yeah. It's a high number. Here, if implemented, this could be the company's largest layoff ever. If implemented, the cuts are being driven by an AI-first restructure.
That I think is nonsense. I think that's great PR, but I think that's nonsense.
Okay. So I don't even know what that means. What do you think that means? AI first at Dell? Are they going to, are they competing with NVIDIA? Like what what do you think they're doing?
It's funny because we talked about robots earlier, and I was thinking, are they going to use AI to replace the 12,500 people in sales and marketing? And I don't think that's what they mean. But what you said, because the theme here, if you think about it, with Intel on the list, also, they're up against a chip maker who they've never really competed against at the scale they are now, right? Between Dell and Intel facing NVIDIA. And so maybe you're right that it's really about compute power. And I think, the combination of compute power and electricity are going to be kind of the themes for the next 5 years. This idea that we'll run out of electricity, I'm hoping the AI is going to solve that. So you
think the AI is going to figure out how to make power more efficiently?
Maybe like in Back to the Future.
That's like saying if I drink a lot of grapefruit juice, it's going to burn all my fat.
Yeah, but like in Back to the Future, at the end, Doc uses garbage to, power
I see what you're saying.
So maybe there's just things we haven't considered. You know what I mean?
I'm sure if we're talking about them, somebody a lot smarter than us is working on them. But here's another interesting one, right? Tesla facing downward demand in 2024. Their vehicle deliveries fell for the first time in nearly 4 years. Stiff competition in China has led to price cuts that put pressure on profit margins.
Yeah, the Chinese electric car market is unbelievable and super cool.
Well, I spent some time because of my daughter living there, but I spent a lot of time in Mexico in the last few years. Not a lot, but, more than I ever have in my life. Chinese cars all over the place.
Totally.
Right? And I'm like, what's that model? What's that? I've never seen them in the States. We don't allow Chinese cars here. And then I get up close because they're parked or they're stopped at a light or whatever's going on. I'm like, this is a legit car. This car, it's not like, I don't know if you remember this. This was great. The Chinese gave me my first exposure to recycled metal. When I was a kid, I had a sheriff's badge or a police badge. It was a police badge. It was made in China. And the front was like shiny aluminum. And when you flipped it around, the paint from what it used to be was still on the back. That's what I thought Chinese cars were like. I'm an idiot.
Yeah. It's super cool. The other thing is, Amazon bought all their electric fleet from Rivian. Yeah. And you just think about that competition for that kind of business, right? That Rivian, it's a brand new player, was able to win that business from Amazon. And I'm sure all of those billionaire CEOs have egos and are competitive with each other, but we haven't seen Tesla in fleets yet like that, right? And so
no, we haven't.
That's going to start to grow, and that market's also going to start to grow.
That's a pretty interesting observation about that. But $7 billion in operating losses for Intel, it's crazy. NVIDIA kicking complete keister here is just it's just amazing. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. When this is limited to top 10, right? What's going on in sort of tech creation, manufacturing, and services. But it's tough out there. I've had a lot of people reach out with resumes as of late. Engineers, infrastructure people, developers. I mean, people really looking for jobs, and it's shifting. I see, lots of companies that used to hire talent are now, they're creating a lot of leverage. Interestingly enough, I just had a call with a customer who's trying to get a very big name logo and said they build everything. There's no way we're going to get in this particular company. They build everything. They're a build shop. They've been through 4 CIOs. They're a build shop. It's the end of the story. So, but I think that while that's the case, I mean, even if you look at Chase, they announced they've got 3,500 technology professionals working on AI at JP Morgan Chase.
I mean, I think there are going to be companies like the big banks and software companies that are still investing heavily in tech.
Yeah.
But I think, there are a few things going on in the labor market right now. One is, I think, this incredible transition we're about to go through with the AI opportunities is forcing people to pause how they think of their expense to ensure that they're spending their technology budgets on technology that they think has a lifespan and won't get replaced by AI. Right.
Yeah,
And so
that makes
the
sense.
second thing is I do think there's a ton of technology fatigue in the C-suites from the last 10 years of massive investments in technology. And you and I have talked about what those stats look like. And, 50% of the time the projects go in and maybe 50% of the time they don't. Right. And I think right now we're seeing a little bit of that impacting hiring and teams. And like you said, like Chase is still going to be a builder. But if you're in the mid-market right now, you should not be building anything, right?
Yep.
I mean, between low code and commercially available software and the cloud, you need to figure out how to take advantage of all that stuff. And, it's possible you'll need to do data integration and your own analytics and research. But beyond that, you should be able to pay for it.
Pretty crazy. I'm going to show you something that you're going to get blown away because we're stats guys, and I consulted the great Swami, ChatGPT, and even with the typo, what percentage of tech projects worldwide do not deliver? We got to validate this. I could actually ask to cite the source, please.
I did a little
Cite
research on this too.
All right. So, blah, 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 Standish Group, blah, 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 blah. Okay. 31% of tech projects succeed. 52% are challenged and 17% fail. Okay. So what I'm going to say is 52 plus 17, 69% of tech projects do either fail or do not meet expectations, which means the ROI is plummeting, which is what's driving C-suite fatigue. So,
and I think the one thing that's hard on this one too is fail to meet their objectives. That's a very gray area, but nonetheless, that's a real problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. Well, fail to meet their objectives means there's, at the end of the day, there's no value, right? The value is completely gone.
Yeah. The thing that you and I have seen is if we're really working towards efficiency with our tech projects, if efficiency is really our goal, then when we deliver the project, then the C-suite has to make very hard decisions about what jobs they are going to let go as a result of that improved efficiency.
Yeah.
Sometimes the reality is the market grows.
Yeah.
And so they need to keep the team size, but the revenue doesn't offset the expense of the project. And then I think there's a lot of bad ROI math going on, over promising and under delivering.
Yeah.
But it's, I do think
funny.
there's a lot of,
my business is bringing new technology and solutions to companies. I know you do the same. But I'm selling it now, right? For the last 8 years. And every time I sit with a provider and they want to go through the ROI, they're like, we save 60% here, we save 55% there. I'm like, no way. No way. I'm like, there's no, first of all, you think you're showing up like a knight in shining armor. You're creating so much distress on an enterprise. They're used to 5, 7, 10, 20% on the high side saving. They're big enough where those numbers are
huge numbers. Yeah.
You come puffing your chest, go walking through the door, I'm going to save you 40%. Somebody at the very top of the house has already got the head count and chopped it out. People then can't run their shop and do their jobs, and they will sign you up for whatever some dum-dum says in the first meeting. And so I'm aware of that. Yeah. And I say, hey, let's do a conservative calculation together. I got $1. I can save you 20 cents. I can do it X number of times a day. Blah, blah, blah. This is what it offsets. Can we all, that's so easy. That's a slam dunk. Stop right there.
Sure.
Promise the slam dunk. You got upside on the other side?
Great. Yeah, but we saw this for a few years in the machine learning space. the OCR machine learning convergence that occurred with the ability to read W-2s and pay stubs. And people were promising a not an aspirational number, but a number that was not a first day number. And so I would go to meetings and my partner would be like, this guy said they were going to read 85 to 90% of the W-2s. We're at 40%.
Yeah.
And I would say to the vendor, you're at 40%. He's like, there's more good tech coming. I'm like, yeah, but in that first meeting, you promised 80.
Yeah, you promised 80. Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in. All right, this next topic is a blast from the past. You know, we said earlier that Michael and I used to do Tech Talk Radio, and this is, 25 years later, we're still talking about personal items. So let's bring up the Pixel 9 Pro Fold. Okay.
And by the way, 25 years ago, I had some controversial opinions about technology. I was a dedicated owner of a Dell jukebox when iPods existed. And I believed in the jukebox. But
you hold on to that. It's creating a resurgence for sure.
Yes.
People are coming back. It's like a 69 Volkswagen Beetle. People can't get enough of it.
Yeah.
So the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, I've seen some foldables. I'm not sure I've seen this one or if there's another one that exists, but I did see
the
Samsung
foldable one is great too. Yeah,
that's the one I saw. I saw the Samsung foldable, and I've got a love-hate relationship with this thing. I'm gonna start this one. I'm gonna tell you why I love it, why I hate it. First of all, I love new tech. And the fact that you can make a screen that looks this good, it's this sturdy, and it's cool, and I get a lot bigger than my phone and have more viewable space. I just love it for that. I mean, but as a functional item, I don't know. First of all, what's wrong with Apple? Why don't they have a foldable screen for crying out loud?
I think they're working on it.
You think they're working on one?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that. I mean, I don't know what the market is. I can't figure out who wants a foldable. Like, if I was traveling a lot, I think I'd want a foldable. I think
I'm with you.
Cool. Yeah,
I'm with you.
So this article I thought had a better picture, but when it's folded, you have to be able to use it in the fold. Yeah. So this is the stuff there. That's
folded.
It. Yeah, that's folded open with just one
two
side,
different sizes. Two different sizes of
right?
That's here. Pixel 9 Pro longer cover screen on the right is a more familiar format than the shorter. Okay, so that's the one on the right.
They made it big.
Do we have it open anywhere in here? Wow, $17.99. Yeah. Okay, so now there are the cons, right?
That's $17.99.
That's more than my notebook.
Yes, it's a crazy number.
Yeah, I got a MacBook Pro. Maybe I paid close to that, but you know what? I'm struggling now.
$17.99 is tough. But they'll set you up on a plan. You can pay it off over 3 years.
You sound like a subprime lender.
I'm sorry about my dog.
No, it's all right.
So
Ruby's part of the show. It's all good.
There's something going on.
Yeah. What's she doing over there? She trying to get in? Trying to get out?
She thinks something's happening, and she wants to let me know that something is happening. Yes, something is happening, but it's going to be okay.
I thought she wanted to talk about the Google folder here,
And she's like, this is stupid. Yeah, I just think it's cool that people are going after it. And there's another company, and I can't remember which one it is, that's going after a 3-panel sort of bendable.
Huh.
And the reality is what about a no form factor phone? Right? Like just in your eyeglasses.
Yeah, like the Oculus.
Totally.
Yeah, but
or if you could open your hand and it, like Obi-Wan Kenobi stood up and was like, hey, that.
I'd have to have one of these in my hand because the notion of traveling with one of these is cool because I like media. And so if I'm on a plane, or if I'm sitting up in a hotel room or something. I never put the television on in a hotel room anymore. Anything I watch, just watching on the phone. But I'd sometimes, if I know I'm going to have some downtime, maybe I'm on a little Netflix or something, or I'm catching up on an episode that I'm watching, I will bring another device. I'll have my MacBook, or I'll have my iPad.
And I think we'll have to check out, this just came out, but I bet there are some good YouTube reviews. We'll be able to see it a little bit in action. So cool. Yeah, I mean, I think, what's interesting is, like, I don't know if you upgrade your iPhone every year.
Every other.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, in the early days, there was a reason. There was so much tech improving year over year. Now that's slowed down a little bit, right? Like, I am using a Pixel 7, right?
Okay.
So the 9 just came out. I'm 2 devices behind. And I don't really, there's some stuff on the Pixel 9 that's cool. Some of the AI photo touch-up stuff they're doing, I really like.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get a new phone for that. Like, I'm good with my Pixel 7 for right now. And I don't do a lot on my phone other than mail and web browsing. Like, I'm not creating TikToks, and I'm not creating social media. And, we talk about camera improvements, like,
how much better you need than 45 megapixels,
Right. Yeah, they're getting better at sort of more custom controls and depth and all these cool things. But also at $1,000, a phone, it's not an expense I'm taking on every year. And especially, you think about my kids or your kids, like, they're not going to get a new phone every year,
until they're off the payroll. Then, if they're on the payroll, they get one every other year, just like the Papa does. But, if you think about this, and it's actually pretty crazy when I think about it, I now have everybody I provide a phone to on that rotating every other year schedule. Most of us are aligned, but it's freaking $50 a month per phone.
Yeah.
Right? Because, you're on that upgrade early program.
Yeah.
They're insured because, how many of them drop and smash in the smithereens, right? So it's not a cheap proposition. Now, if you underwrite this $1,800 phone into that equation, that's $125 a month. Yeah. Maybe in a program it's $85. I don't know, but it's a different deal.
Yeah.
It's a different deal for sure.
I don't do the insurance anymore.
I don't do the insurance on my phone because I'm not a maniac. Everybody else in my house, Michael, treats the phone like it's a Louisville Slugger. Who drops it here? The good thing that happened is that they become real. The iPhones are like really waterproof, because the number of phones that got dropped into water over the years, crazy. Last winter, I dropped my phone in the pool by accident. I was walking around the pool, dropped it in. I'm like, that's it. It's done. I went and got the net. I scooped it off the bottom of the pool. I shook it out. No bag of rice, no nothing. It was
That's
perfect.
amazing. That really is. You talk about the advances. That waterproof resistance is a gigantic. I broke my first phone this year.
You did?
I stopped using a case on it. I thought I could be cool and not use a case.
You're like Don. Don doesn't use case. He's too cool to use a case.
Yeah, because it looks so cool without the case.
Yeah,
so I stopped using a case, and then I dropped it on the ground, and it was irreparably broken. And it turned out there was one person who had insurance on their phone on my phone, and it was me.
You had it?
I had it.
Ah.
With all my, I don't pay for insurance. I got insurance.
Yeah, it's the insurance thing is if I don't have it, the phones break. If I have it, they'll last for 25 years. That's just what happens.
Yeah.
So what, you have a Samsung now? What do you have?
I have a Google Pixel 7.
Oh, that's right. You said that you have a Pixel 7. What are you thinking
I
about this?
believe in the the price point of this, if it was $1,000 or $1,200, I would think about it. Okay. I don't think I would do it because it's so, at the end of the day, like, it's going to be heavier,
Yeah, it's big.
But I'm a big fan of the Pixel phones. Everything I do is sort of on Gmail. And so the integration is really
that makes
easy
sense.
and simple. And so, I kind of like them. But I've used all of the phones, and they all make phone calls, text, browse, do
Yeah.
email. They're all, people sometimes say, well, I had family members who didn't like that I was a green bubble.
It's funny you mention that. I think
It might
they're
be
coming
why
out-
my ex-wife left me.
Well, Android's coming out with something that's going to enable their phones, the Droid phones, to be included in iMessage.
Yeah, and I think Apple is doing something to allow it finally.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it sucks
And that
when
would be
you've got
amazing.
8 people in a group text and the one person who's not on an Apple device all of a sudden gets kicked to the curb. When they reply, it only replies to you. The group doesn't see it.
Yeah.
It's dumb. They could fix that.
Yeah. I mean, but they sold a lot of phones, I think,
Yeah.
because for our kids, at least for mine, if you didn't have an iPhone, you were dealing with a shitty green bubble. You weren't in your friend group.
The
You know what I mean?
bubble. What really sucked more about than the green bubble is the inability to really send videos high, like big
So
things.
there is a setting, which I'm going to find after this and send it
Okay.
to you on both of our phones,
Okay.
that will improve the quality of the video that we send each other between our devices. And there's literally there's a toggle on the iPhone
Okay.
someplace that says send for best quality for other formats.
Huh. All right. I'll have to find that. I didn't know about that because you always say to me, hit me in the WhatsApp.
That's right.
Yeah, for the videos. And Mike
and all
is
I've
the
said
same
about
way.
it, I still haven't found the thing.
right,
I
well-
keep looking at it, and I found it on my Android device, but I don't find it that direction as big of a problem as the iPhone to me direction. People are like, "Oh, check out this video of me fishing," and I'm like, "That's a blurry person standing next to the water." You know what I mean?
I want to jump back into something you said about, where the phone's going to go, wearables, this, that, the other thing. I have the iWatch Ultra,
Mm.
and I have the one that doesn't need a phone to be connected. So it's like another $10 a month. It's its own device,
That's the
but
actual Dick Tracy watch.
it's the Dick Tracy watch. So if I leave the house without my phone and I have my watch on, you call me, I talk to you, I do all of these things. What's the word I'm going to use? It is not, it's an emergency device at best. Now I guess if I brought my AirPods with me and they were connected to the watch, but as far as like looking at a text and doing things, it's not user friendly. I mean, it's too small. It's way too small. Certainly not ergonomic. You're doing all this little moving and scrolling and shitting them back 2 screens and all that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, if humans need to interact with something in some way. I mean, short of a Neuralink chip and us being Bluetooth to something in our pocket,
Love it.
just being able to think about it. Yeah, that might be something, but it's
I
going
mean,
to
a
be really
combination of
interesting.
projections and AI are going to solve that.
Say that again?
Combination of projections. So
Yeah.
if my device projects a keyboard that's sort of in the air and I can interact with it, right?
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know if you've used the ChatGPT function where you're actually talking to the AI.
I have.
And so if that gets better, like when I go to make a phone call and I say, hey, Google, send this text, it does it okay. But if we really have like the Her movie style companion device
Yeah.
where I can say, what does that email say? And it can summarize it. And I can say, hey, can you put together a reply and read it back to me?
Yeah.
I mean, now we're talking. Now we're not. Now
Yeah.
you're on the size of your device won't matter.
Yeah. Isn't Copilot doing that already? Integrated
Yeah, I
into
think
emails?
so. I haven't used it. I mean, Gemini is in Gmail,
Yeah.
and it's doing summaries. And Copilot, I think, is ChatGPT because they're
No,
together.
Copilot's Microsoft.
Yeah, but Microsoft
Yeah.
is the key investor.
Oh, yeah.
in
The key
ChatGPT.
investor in OpenAI. That's right. Yeah.
So I
That's
think
right.
that's part of there. But it's funny because I haven't used it because whenever I think about Microsoft and AI, I think of the Paperclip Man.
Yeah, no kidding. It's too funny. All right, let's move on to our last segment.
Great.
Hey, man, we're about to come right up the middle lane here. Generative AI can transform the workforce development. So using AI to train people. I know something about this. All right. So we have been exposed to a bunch of platforms in the channel. The one I've seen up front and close and personal that I really like is a platform called Bright. And I'm not sure what's being used in this article, but the notion is that the legacy training that people get is very single threaded and only in positive outcomes. So even when you think about sending out a training aid for a new change in an application that you've written, you got new changes. What are you doing? You're creating a Word doc. The Word doc goes out, or some document gets posted, or even if it's in some learning platform, and the happy path is demonstrated, and you're not measured on how well you execute it, is the information. And then you get 1, and you get 2, and you get 3, and you get 10, you get 20, and you get 50. And, what's the way anymore? It's so hard to contain and retain that knowledge. This is interesting in this article. And the thing that really caught me here is that Amazon in 2021 committed $1.2 billion to train 300,000 of its employees as part of its Upskilling 2025 pledge, after reporting that almost 20% of Amazon employees interested in upskilling said they consider seeking employment opportunities with other companies that offer training programs that skilled workers need to compete in today's labor market.
And the only correction I'll make is it's almost 70% of the Amazon employees interested in upskilling, so they consider it. You just misread it, but it's a crazy number.
Ah, okay. Yeah, well, that's what I meant. So
yeah.
But it's a crazy number.
Important. Yeah, and you and I have talked about this, and I think you have all the. I don't have the expertise you have in this, but can you talk more about?
Yeah, let me tell you what Bright
I think
does.
This case that you just described is like the best one.
Let me tell you what Bright does. First of all, let's talk about training environments, right? First thing you need to do, and you know this from running technology at big companies, is you've got to stand up other instances of your technology. You got to mock it up with data that doesn't contain any private information. You got to make those environments available, and those environments from a code perspective have to mirror production. You got to keep them in sync. So Bright essentially goes out to your app. You go into the applications, and there's better technology, but for ease, they take screenshots of your screens. Okay, they then use those screenshots to build the forms. Right, they're cutting and pasting spots, and they're building data sets behind them to mirror the outcomes that you want. So people now using this AI generated platform and this training automation, they go out and they're expected to run a simulation. You can adjust the speed of that simulation. You could measure how quickly they get to the right answer or the wrong one. And then you can replay that simulation for get the corrector. So let's say, hey, this skill, when I'm on the phone with a customer, Michael calls in the help desk, I should be able to take their customer, credentials, their information. I should be able to navigate to this part in the scene within 30 seconds. If I don't get to it in 30 seconds, as opposed to getting there in 3 minutes, right? I get pushed back until I could navigate and execute in what looks exactly like the program. Right? It looks exactly like the system or systems that are available. And so now there's repetition, there's speed and accuracy, there's, complete, driving. There's so many ways and angles of training it. I can not only upskill people with new information, but I can, from a continuous improvement perspective, I could refresh the fundamentals. I could make sure, hey, if Vic's supposed to get to this point in the talk off within the first 45 seconds of a call, am I still doing that? Am I not doing that? What's the problem? Have things changed? The benefits are staggering. The key metric is time to proficiency that you're driving in training, especially for new hires. And then there's peak proficiency. So there's this notion that people get proficient to whatever that level is in a certain period of time. And that might take 6 weeks. But if they had something like this, companies like Bright claim it's a 40% reduction in speed to proficiency, which means my people are on the floor serving customers in a positive way. And when you got a big place in a big company, like 300,000 employees at Amazon, you're talking tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah.
You're also,
and the
think
feedback you
about this
get
for the last thing.
Yeah,
One last
please.
thing. Think about the amount of attrition that people go through. So this thing isn't one and done. In the call center, you could have 50, 60, 70% attrition. Some real crazy ones have 120%. I go through this every month. I got to get somebody proficient. I get them out. And what's the number one reason people leave their job? They don't feel like they're trained to do it efficiently because they feel like a failure.
Yeah. From a software development standpoint, plus we get feedback on what's kind of working and not working, right? We get immediate feedback to say, hey, nobody's finding the thing you think is the obvious way of doing it. And, we started our conversation with robots, right? And now we're talking about actual AI use cases that are making incredibly meaningful impacts on improving our workforce. And so, if you don't mind, can you talk about sort of the real-time AI that helps guide a call center agent through a sales interaction or troubleshooting interaction?
There are a number of platforms out that do that. I'll leave some of the logos out just to keep the playing field even. But picture this. Michael, you call me, I'm the call center agent. I've got a frame up, that's housing one of these applications, or maybe I've got a window up. And you say, hey, Vic, my name is Michael. I got this credit card. I just got noticed that, I pay it off every month, but it's got this high interest rate. I might want the luxury of maybe, running a little credit for a little bit here. You've got any other cards for me? I've been an early payer my entire time with you. The applications are listening in the voice streams. They're plugged in and they're listening. And within 50 milliseconds, it's tapped into your applications, your knowledge bases, all your sources of the truth. And it's spitting back in real time. It's saying, hey, we know who Michael is. We know he's got a 14% APR on his card. We can offer him these 3 cards. We got the Visa Select. We have the Visa Premier. We have the Visa, Gold card or whatever it is. These are the interest rates. They have no fees. They have fees, et cetera. So it's like they don't have to remember that. And when you change a program, they don't need to be retrained on it because it's going to come back up and say, oh, the Premier is no longer available. Now it's the Premier Plus. Yeah. And it comes out. So this can be applied to customer service tasks. It can be applied to program tasks. There's a use case around underwriting in the mortgage space. Hey, this guy failed, this guy doesn't qualify, this gal doesn't qualify. What are the 3 things they need to do to be able to qualify? Because it's not just about satisfying conditions. It's like, what else can happen? And so there's a lot of good stuff that comes out of that.
I think the speed of it is super interesting, right? The 50 milliseconds is like crazy fast to be able to update. And, to go back to the original use case that you talked about, training, we're spending a lot of training dollars where I have to have a trainer show up, or I'm using recorded training with limited interaction with my audience, or my audience member misses the training. You can save a lot of money if you can start to do a AI-driven training environment like you've been describing. And then I think in addition to that, my ability to do continuous delivery is dependent on what you're describing. Like, people are like, we should do continuous delivery. And the reality is, how often can I train my workforce? So if I come out with significant improvements to a complicated app, I can't deliver them every month. You pull everybody off the line in order to train them. So at best, I'm going to do it quarterly, right? Or twice a year. But I can do it more frequently if I can update the training, and it's a training platform that is sort of listening and watching the learner to determine if the learner is becoming proficient at the thing they're trying to learn. I mean, it just changes the game. And for call center, I don't know. I think there are people who think that, ultimately the call center will be entirely driven by AI without people. I expect that some percentage of those calls, if they can be handled by AI, will be over the next 5 years, and who knows further than that. But the ability to help a human in that conversation is going to improve a company's ability to provide excellent customer service. I did a call with Verizon recently, and I was just so surprised at the agent's ability to kind of accurately evaluate what I needed quicker than I'd had experience previously. And they had to be using some AI.
Yeah, I have to be supplemented by it. You know, you say something interesting about the software development lifecycle and the use of this tool that I had never really put together. So imagine it's your job to roll out features and functionality, which you've done for decades in complex application suites. Have you ever really measured the proficiency boost or the proficiency degradation of the user experience? Like I've never had a CX department in the places that, I mean, I know it's very common and popular now. It's more in vogue, but it is also the first thing to get cut in the budget.
Absolutely. I mean, we've used a lot of stopwatches, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Where we're doing stuff and timing it. And I've worked at places that were really dedicated to that. And I think it makes us all feel good in a good way.
Yeah.
You know, that we're achieving goals and we can demonstrate them to support the ROI. But this changes that, right? I mean, you know, you can set skill set paths and I think do it faster than we've done it in the past and leverage the compute power to really determine the efficiency of the features that we're rolling out. And we're doing this, you know, the other big change, I think, in the last 6 or 7 years in software development has been in test engineering, where they're doing a lot of this in test engineering. And it's really, really cool. But being able to roll out features faster and faster is going to be dependent on our ability to, I think, create these hyper engaged AI test environments that allow us to really see how it's working.
Yeah. I was going to make another comment about the training. But I lost it because I was listening so intently to what you were saying about it. But I don't know. I just think this stuff is going to take things completely to the next level. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Use case. I got it. We have a customer that asked these great questions and dove into a POC under this circumstance. Check this out. They said, "Hey, happy path, forget it. I can teach the happy path." You know how many times we get a call and it comes down the happy path?
Yeah.
Like 1 out of 100. I want to program 99 real difficult situations, and I want to see how these people can navigate their way out of it. And I want to force the training to take them to the wrong screens and the wrong places in the applications and have them navigate back to the place they're supposed to be. Because when you give people letter A to letter B to letter C, and that's all they know, if they jump from A to D, they don't even know where B and C are. They wouldn't know where to begin to look. And I was like mind blown. That was probably the most, one of the things that should seem obvious, but completely not obvious, to go down and really challenge the training paradigm in a way I had not seen anybody do it. That POC was successful, by the way, and that client did engage with this platform. So they were stoked. They were completely stoked.
I think some of the feedback we might get about this conversation is that people are doing this and without AI. And the thing that I would just sort of say is that, the cost of being able to do it is going to change, and the availability of doing this is going to, grow significantly, and more people are going to be able to take advantage of these kind of tools than currently, because the expense associated with doing it right now, with test engineering and stuff it's expensive. And to be able to leverage AI, and yes, there's a cost there too, but the benefit's going to be extraordinary. And I think, again, we started our conversation today with robots and scratching your back. And as cool as that is, I do think that when you think about AI, the number one place right now for companies to be thinking about how to leverage AI that will make a meaningful contribution to their expense management is in the call center.
I agree. I'm looking at my drawer here, and it's not here. I wish it was.
I was looking for my back scratcher. There's my AI, my little back scratch. good. Bought for me by my kids, by the way. Thanks, Pops. Yeah, thanks. Here you go, Dad. You're on your own. It's great. Hey, great segment. This was awesome, man. We wrapped up 4 amazing topics. What a great chat. As always, just, completely natural. And, we're going to schedule the next one. I know.
I appreciate it. It's always nice to do it. Super fun.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on today, man. Appreciate you. See you, brother. Bye.